Good evening. We've got folks tonight on both Zoom and Facebook. This is the Library Telescope Task Force. We've been doing some monthly programs, and we're excited tonight to bring you a Library Telescope program called Unlock the Mysteries of the Changing Night Sky. If you're not familiar with what we're doing, we've been working actually for several years to try to expand and grow the Library Telescope program. And actually today we had some news. We had a library in Amsterdam join the program. We're excited about that. They're joining effective May 1st. And one of the topics we've been trying to do is just try to every month talk about different topics. Tonight we'll be talking about Unlock the Mysteries of the Changing Night Sky. Last month we had a program on March 17th where libraries who've actually done the program, both in New York and Washington, talked about their experience starting the program. And next month, on May 19th, we'll have a little bit larger library. It's actually got multiple branches in Utah, talk about what they're doing as far as their library goes. So the program tonight's about roughly about 30 minutes in total. We'll have about a 20-minute presentation by John Goss from the Astronomical League, and he's going to talk about just one second here, if I get, and he'll talk about, again, the mysteries of change in the night sky. So what we'll do is we'll be taking questions at the end. If you're on Facebook, you can put the questions into the comments area. And if you're on Zoom, just put it into the Q&A area, and we'll try to get those at the end. We're going to allow a little bit of time at the end. What I failed to mention just a moment ago is that all the programs that we've been doing, both past and, obviously in the future, we put on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. And you can go to librarytelescope.org, and up the very top, they'll have a YouTube button. Just click that, and you can watch those videos. And we also, of course, you can go to Facebook, where we got Tom Lynch on here tonight. He runs our Facebook page. So we've got a lot of really good material between the website, the YouTube, and the Facebook page, and we encourage you to check those out. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to stop my screen share, and I'm going to let John get into the business of understanding the night sky. So John Goss from the Astronomical League. Good to see you, John.
Thank you for having me tonight, Don. Yes, my name is John Goss. I'm former president of the Astronomical League. I'd like to start tonight's talk about learning the night sky and why things change. I have a screen share I would like to try. Notice how I say I'd like to try. You never know about these things.
We can see it.
I hope you can see it.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the night sky and find your way around it before we really discuss any changes. This program offers you a number of maps, monthly sky maps, that show what the sky is roughly 90 minutes or 2 hours after sunset when it's good and dark. This is the map that will be featured in May, Navigating the May Night Sky. This map is, I think it's pretty interesting in that it shows everything up there, and it gives you an idea of some objects to look at, just what to expect in the sky. I'd like to say a few things about the map in general first. You notice how big it is. It's as big as your screen. And that map is supposed to represent the entire sky. So you can see that something small on this map actually may be a pretty good size object in the night sky, certain constellations and so on. And also, to use this map properly, you should face south and hold it above your head. It really isn't like an old style car atlas in which you put down on your lap and look at it that way. No, this you have to put over your head, and the stars on the map should match pretty closely those in the sky. Of course, I think we all know that the sun and most things rise in the east and they set in the west. So when you use this map, you can keep that in mind, that as the night progresses, things will rise in the east and stars will disappear in the west as they drop below the horizon. Just quickly going over some of the stuff on the map here. There are two lines on it, one called the Celestial Equator, and the other is called the Ecliptic. The Celestial Equator is pretty obvious in what it really is. It's just a projection of the Earth's equator onto the night sky. That's where it would be. That means if you're on the Earth's equator, stars along that celestial equator would pass directly over your head every day at some point. Now, the ecliptic's a little more confusing, but really, I think it's a little more important. It's a more important line in the sky. It is really just the path of the sun across the starry dome each year. So it also represents the plane of the solar system, meaning that if you're in search of planets in the sky, the planets will lie pretty closely to the ecliptic, a little bit above it or a little bit below it, but pretty close to it. In May, you'll see in the northwest different dates for the position of Mars, as well as the Earth's moon. So this is a good way of finding planets in the sky. And as you can see in May, Mars is the planet to find. Some of the others are in the morning sky, so you can't see them in March. But anyway, I'd like to show you some more aspects about this. We also have a Spanish language version of this map every month. So people who are more comfortable speaking in Spanish, or people who know others who speak Spanish and would like to learn a little bit about the sky, this is for them. Go to a little more detail here. This map is from back in March. Now, the reason why I bring it up, because I want to show you the successive changes in the night sky as the months go by. And then we'll discuss a little bit about why that occurs. March, I'd like you to keep an eye on to the northeast, Arcturus, which is right here. Keep your eye on that. Also keep your eye on the constellation Orion, which is this jumble of stars right here. Orion's a pretty famous constellation. A lot of people know it. Also keep in mind these two stars, Castor and Pollux, and also the North Star. The North Star is a pretty special star in the sky because it happens to lie right over the North Pole, meaning that it really doesn't change its position at all during the night. It's always in that same part of the sky. So you can always use the North Star to find your way north. So you'll find that the sky from month to month, that this North Star will stay right about here. Let's go to the next month, April. Now you can see that Arcturus, which was here, has now risen, and it occupies this spot. Orion, which was right over here, is now way over here, and it's starting to set. Castor and Pollux, same thing. It's a little bit further west. The North Star, though, is right in the same spot, just like it should. Go to the next month. We're coming up to May. Arcturus is now way over. It's not really rising anymore. It's almost directly overhead. Orion is gone. It's set. Castor and Pollux are even further to the west, more like northwest. North Star still in the same spot. We have another constellation in May popping up in the northeast. It's rising. It's called Cygnus, and I'd like to keep your eye on that over the next few months as we go through these maps. June. You see Cygnus is quite a bit higher in the sky now. It has moved, definitely. Arcturus is now a little bit more than halfway across the sky. Castor and Pollux are just hovering above the northwestern horizon. North Star, it's in the same spot. We also have the Milky Way, which is the band of our galaxy. This can be seen easily from a dark sky site. And from the city, no, not really. It's pretty tough to see. But if you're in a suburbs, you just might be able to pick it up. And you'll see that the Milky Way, like everything else, will be rising as well. So we have Cygnus right there. Let's go to the next month. July. Okay, Cygnus is higher in the sky. Castor and Pollux are gone. Arcturus is now starting to drop down. North Star is still in the same spot. So you can see that as the months go, stars rise in the east, kind of arc to the highest point in the sky, and then drop down in the west and set. Then we just do a couple more months here. August, well, maybe 3 months. August, Cygnus is almost directly overhead now, along with the Milky Way. Arcturus is starting to drop down lower and lower. North Star into the same spot. September, of course, follows. Arcturus is really low now. Cygnus is still pretty much directly overhead. No, North Star, same spot. October, Arcturus is almost gone. Cygnus is still overhead. Now, the reason why it's still overhead, it has to do more with time changes and the time of night of observing this. Now we're into October and November. The evening gets dark pretty early, and so you can start observing even earlier than you would in the summer months. North Star is still in the same place. One more month before I start boring people with this, but you can see that Arcturus is now gone. Now Cygnus is starting to drop down, and the North Star is in the same spot. So this kind of gives you an idea of how things pop up in the east, arc overhead, and set in the west. Now, why does it do this? Of all these graphs and charts that I have with this presentation, even though this might be the simplest one, it really could be the most important one if you understand it completely. The dark gray line is the Earth's orbit around the sun, which of course I chopped off so I could fit it on the screen a little better. Earth's orbit around the sun takes a year. As an example on where the Earth is, on December 1st, let's say the Earth is right here in its orbit. The next day, it will have moved just a little bit in its orbit around the sun. Now, as you know, the Earth rotates once every 24 hours. So between December 1st and December 2nd, the Earth will have rotated. But this can get really confusing if you don't really understand, have a good visualization of what the Earth is doing as it's orbiting the sun. We like to say a day is 24 hours long. And we also like to think, okay, that would mean that if you're looking at the noonday sun, well, not really the noonday sun, the midday sun, the time of day when the sun is halfway between the eastern horizon and western horizon. If you look at it at that spot, it takes 24 hours for it to reach that spot again in your day sky. But as you can see from one day to the next, with the use of the red arrows, you can see that there's a 4-minute difference between your direction, your original direction in the sky, and then the direction of the next day. So instead of it being a 24-hour day, it's really 24 hours minus 4 minutes. So it's 23 hours, 56 minutes. So this 4-minute difference every day is what causes the stars to rise and set at different times. Go to the next graph. Which I've roughly called, or I've called seasons change, stars change. This might give you a little bit better idea of what's going on. Let me try to unpack this a little bit here. In the center, we have the sun, okay? We have a planet going around the sun, which in this case is the Earth. One part of the year, in this case, on June 21st, the Earth would be right here. Looking towards the sun, it would project the sun's image onto the stars of Gemini. But since it's in the day, you can't see the stars of Gemini. But if you magically could, you would see the sun passing among the stars of the constellation Gemini. 6 months later, as the Earth swings around the sun, gets to the opposite position, now the sun is projected against the stars of, of Scorpius and Sagittarius. So during this 6 months, when the Earth moves from here along the line to here, the projection of the sun moves from here all the way across the ecliptic, very famous, very important band in the sky, all the way down to Scorpius. So that helps us understand that all this is in motion simply because the Earth is orbiting the sun. If the Earth didn't orbit the sun, none of this could be explained. So in a way, this is kind of a visual proof of the Earth orbiting the sun. One more graph along those lines. It'll center a little easier to see. Let's say we have the Earth on August 22nd, and it's going around the sun too. On this graph, we also have Mars. Well, if this is an example. So if Earth is here on August 22nd and Mars is way over here in its orbit, it's projected against the stars of the constellation Cancer. 2 months later, Earth will have moved in its orbit about 1/6 of the way around the sky, around the sun. So it will sit right about here. Mars won't have moved quite so far, but it will definitely have moved. So now Mars is projected among the stars of Leo. So Mars has moved from Cancer, sliding down the ecliptic to Leo, while Earth has gone 1/6 of the way around the sun. Now the sun, on the other hand, back on August 22nd, was here in Leo. Now on two months later, it's now, Earth is right here, and the sun is now projected against Virgo. So during this time, the sun has appeared to scoot across the sky from Leo, the constellation of Leo, into the stars of the constellation Virgo. So as the Earth goes around, all that continues on. If I had drawn in over here, if the Earth was right here, the sun would then be over here, which is where the stars of Scorpius and Sagittarius are, which was illustrated in that earlier graph. Now this, I'd like to try another screen. This is going to take a moment for me to find. Oops. Don't you just love technology when you're trying to do all this stuff?
Of course.
Okay.
You're doing all right, John. Don't worry about it. There you go. I like that one.
Okay, here we are someplace doing something. Trying to get all my controls going. Okay, this is well, one neat thing about the technology today is that you can buy Planetarium Software, which isn't very complicated. It just means it's a program that plays out whatever's on the night sky. And so you can find things in the sky. You can see how things are going to be tonight or tomorrow or next month or next year. You can see how things were last year, 200 years ago, 1,000 years ago or so. But this stuff plots it out fairly well of what you're seeing. Now, what you're seeing right now, obviously, is you're looking at the sun with a black sky behind it. If these are the stars that would be far behind the sun in the sky if the sky was black. And the stars are so far behind the sun, they're like 1,000,000 times or more farther than the sun. So they're really far away. So they're like a two-dimensional plot on the celestial dome. The sun would be here. This program happens to show Venus, and we can move, oops. We can advance things to show you how things would go fairly quickly, which I'm going to do. Okay, this is moving 120,000 times faster than in real time. So you can see the sun moving across the sky, across in front of all the background stars. As well, you can see the planets Mercury and Venus where they are in their respective orbits. That black thing was the moon zipping by. So remember, we're moving 120,000 times faster than real time. But you can see the sun going around the sky. On the green line is the ecliptic, by the way, the same band that was in the two previous graphics that I was showing. So the sun is always scooting along the ecliptic. The planets are fairly close to it. Mercury is now going between the Earth and the sun, going in the opposite direction, but it'll swing back around. Still coming up in front of some new constellations. This is Castor and Pollux right there, by the way, the one that we were looking at on the earlier star maps. But as you can see, that's why one thing has changed in the sky, was because of this, the Earth orbiting the sun. And it appears from our point of view on Earth that the sun orbits the Earth, but we know that's not true. Okay. Let's try one more. This will just take a moment. Okay, I'm gonna do another screen share. This is the same idea, but now we're positioned on a grassy field, like I don't know, 40 minutes, 45 minutes after sunset. And we're going to try to do the same thing to show you how things change in this regard. Again, we're moving quite a bit faster in real time. This is 2,000 times faster. But you can see how the constellations start, oops, I don't get that graph off there. The constellations and stars are rising in the east or southeast or northeast. They're rising throughout the night, and there's the sun. Of course, we can't see the stars now because the sun's in the way. We'll go all the way around. But this is strictly because the Earth's turning. Since we're just talking about one day here, we aren't going to see much shift in the position of the stars from from the way they were 24 hours. Because remember, every 24 hours, stars rise 4 minutes later. Excuse me, 4 minutes earlier. So now we're back in the night. We've gone around one time. One more I'd like to point out. My fingers aren't as fast as they used to be. Okay. Another idea is that now we are actually in another grassy field near the equator. This happens to be near in Peru. Start the speed again. And I would like to speed things up. So you'll see how the stars are rising in the east. If you're at the equator, which I really don't want to get into all this geometry stuff, but at the equator, the stars all rise to the east directly overhead. And they got the next day. Here, let's stop that. We're gonna go opposite here, just so I can turn things around. Go over to the west, and since the stars are rising in the east, they have to set in the west. As you can see, they are there. They're just dropping down. So that pretty much sums that up as far as the Earth, as the Earth being the cause of all this, as the Earth goes around the sun. I'm going to get off this and go back. Oops. Okay, great. So that was our last graphic on here with the Earth going around the sun and then causing the sun to appear to go in front of all the constellations, which we saw that on the Starry Night program, which is pretty realistic. End up back at our initial screen again. So I want to emphasize that on some of this, that the Library Telescope program offers these maps each month. And each month, it has to do it each month because each month the stars will move a little bit in the sky due to that 4-minute time difference. Constellations such as Cygnus up there on the upper in the northeast will be rising and come overhead and then drop down a few months later into the northwest. North Star is always in the same spot. So throughout the night, you're going to see the constellations and stars rise, as well as the Milky Way, and it too will cross the sky and set. So that's pretty much why things change either nightly or monthly in the night sky. You got to have a whole bunch of these maps to be able to find things around pretty easily. This map is for something about, say, 2 hours after sunset or so. So every month you got to have a new one. And on that, unless we have some questions, which I'd be happy to answer.
We have a few questions.
Sure.
Okay. One question was, what planetarium software do you recommend? That's coming from Facebook. Do you have a particular kind?
Oh, there are a lot of good ones. People like talking about the free ones. Stellarium is probably the one I hear about most, and that's fine. The one that you just saw was Starry Night, and of course, they all come at a price. Stellarium is off the internet; it's free, but Starry Night, there are several different editions of it, complexities that you can get. Some are very realistic, some aren't so much. So I'm not going to say I recommend anyone or I don't recommend anyone. I think it's more of a case of picking one out and getting used to it. Once you can figure out how to operate the controls, because they are the same, but they're a little bit different too. And so it takes a little bit of effort and practice to figure out these controls and what all the symbols mean and such. So
Right.
I
agree with that. Often what you find is that people will be showing me an app and they simply don't know how to use it. There's a lot of features. And once you understand the features, there's usually quite a bit of information in there. Okay, so we have another question. This one's Facebook. By the way, if you're on Zoom, you can put questions in the Q&A. If you're on Facebook, you can put it in the comments area. So the next question was, how do we get the maps? You want to clarify, either Tom Lynch, who's our Facebook guy, or John?
Yeah, it'd be best if I didn't answer that because I'm not the one who posts them, but they're on Facebook. Tom, can you help us out with that?
Okay, got myself unmuted, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways to get this kind of information. One of them is the Astronomical League does a monthly flyer, which is what you're seeing here that John's been talking about. And the league posts that in their website, and I scoffed that up and put it onto the Library Telescope Facebook page every month. I also do a posting of a map, a sky map websites called skymaps.com. And these guys do a really great flyer each month. So it's unique to each month. And not only does it have the sky itself with a lot of stars and constellations shown, but it also has things that you can see easily, any unusual things. So it's a 2-pager, and it is really worth it. It's free. So you just have to go to the website and download it. So those are the two best placed, in my mind, to get it, this kind of information. Of course, astronomy magazines have these kind of things too. And they're, I wouldn't say of a higher quality, but they're certainly nicer looking. There's a lot of information out there, much of which you can get for free.
Yeah, I'd like to add about this particular type of map that we have in front of us. It's designed the way it is so people can download it and print it and not use a ton of ink in doing so. Print it and have multiple copies made so they can give them to their friends, use them in club meetings or observing sessions. So it's an easy way for people to have a functional map in front of them without being a hassle for printing too much. So that's one idea. Tom, I'd like you to also mention some of the other flyers or handouts that are on the Facebook page.
Sure. So we've been posting them probably 2 a month now for a while, and they're various things. One we just did recently was explaining what a light year is. Another one was the astronomical unit, which is the distance from the Earth to the sun, and that's a measure of unit within our solar system. So they're 1-pager, very they're detailed, but they're also simple enough that it just kind of take it all in at a glance. And these were done, I think most of them were done by John, and over the years, and have been on the Astronomical League website. And we're just sort of promoting them a little bit by putting them on the Library Telescope Facebook page, and then sharing that with other astronomy related groups and pages. So, if, again, on the Library Telescope page, you'll see these, but you'd probably see them in a lot of other places too, if you're involved with a lot of astronomy type groups or pages.
Yeah, I want people to keep in mind that these are all free. And they're meant to be free, and they're meant to be shared. They're meant to be copied, duplicated, distributed. So if you see something you like in these maps, feel free. It's meant as an educational tool, as an opportunity to get out and learn the night sky and understand what's going on.
Yeah, even for those of us who spend time looking at the night sky, it is confusing because each month it changes enough to make a difference. And after a few months, you can't see maybe something that you saw just a few months ago. And in the summer, you see completely different things, at least in North America, you see in the dead winter. So I use those as cheats. It kind of gives me a quick lay of the land. It reminds me of what we're in for the current month and the big stuff we can find. So it's definitely something you should rely on.
Yeah, a map like this that's posted right now, as you can see, there are some directions on there on how to find your way around the night sky. A newcomer to the hobby is often bewildered and I guess kind of impressed that amateurs can just find something in the sky off the back of their, with it off the back of their hand. They know where it is. Well, how do you know where all this is? How do you learn that? Well, I tell them it's a lot like seeing a map of the United States the very first time, and someone asks you to find Chicago. Well, I don't know how to do that, and then you look and look and go, oh yeah, this is it, and then you can find it. You learn where it is. That's just what this is like. You know where a few things are in the sky. A lot of people know where the Big Dipper is. Well, you can use the Big Dipper to find your way around, to point directions into other things, like on number 2 here. Here's the Big Dipper. Number 2, how to find Castor and Pollux, just by knowing where the Big Dipper is. So there's certain little aids that way, which will show you how to navigate the night sky. And then you can see the changing features of the stars rising and setting and understand exactly what's going on.
All right, guys, we're getting to the end of our time here. Are there any final comments? Tom, by the way, I think I introduced Tom before. He runs our Facebook page, and I take care of our website. Both of us, all of us actually, manage library telescope programs. Any more comments, John, from you or Tom about navigating the night sky?
Yeah, I have one more sort of encouragement. Keep in mind that you got to start someplace. And there's nothing wrong with going out and not knowing where stuff is in the sky, because everyone has been at that point at some time or other. So I encourage people just to go out with a map like this, go out with a red flashlight and maybe a comfortable lawn chair or a blanket, and just lie back with a red flashlight to shine it on the map and look at the night sky and just start finding things. They're up there and they're not going anywhere. If you can't find them tonight, you can try again tomorrow night.
And once the weather turns nice, it'll be nice just to be outside anyway in the night, right? So
yeah, don't bring up about the weather.
yeah, we had snow here this morning here in St. Louis, so I don't want to talk about it either. So, all right, fine. Thanks a lot to both of you for joining us tonight and doing a great program. I'll remind everybody that within a day or so, I will post this out on the YouTube channel. And again, go to librarytelescope.org and click the YouTube button at the top. We have an entire library of stuff we've been doing these programs for some time now. And also coming up on May 19th, we're trying to mix it up every month. Last month, we had a program on 2 smaller libraries. And next month, we'll be talking with a larger library with multiple branches. And we'll hear about what their program and how it's really worked. And they're very excited. I talked with them. They're very excited to share their experience. And that's been, I think, the message that I've heard as I've talked to libraries across the country here. So once again, thank you for joining us. And I'm getting some great kudos, a lot of love here on the Facebook. And thanks for all the information. So we appreciate it. And good night, everybody. Thank you.